Well, it's a lot of, a
Oh,
lot
I'm
of
sorry.
pressure on
Yeah.
our provincial government.
Right. Wow.
Bear with me. I'm trying to get it live to YouTube. Tim, did you get my emails?
I'm just looking for them and I see we are live on YouTube right now. Annette.
Yep,
It
we
says
are.
we are. Yeah. Okay. Sometimes it says we are, but we're not really.
Emails are in.
Okay, excellent.
Oh, good.
We're not quite on, I know it says we're on YouTube, but we're not quite up yet.
Oh, that works for me. Makes it a lot easier. Thanks, Annette.
No problem.
Hey, Sandra.
Hi, Sandra. Oh, she might not have volume. Yep.
Oh, I do.
Okay.
I think everybody's, that's good. So,
Are we good to go?
well, it's still, the red line is still processing. Oh, here we go.
You just need to be the executive producer and that and like count me down.
Okay, counting down from 30.
You can count me in too whenever it's ready.
Okay, it's ready.
We're ready?
Absolutely.
Excellent. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to call this meeting to order. Are there any additions to the agenda for this afternoon? Seeing none. Excellent. Can I get a confirmation of the agenda, please? Moved by Brent, seconded by Merv. All in favor? Thank you. Is there any pecuniary interest or the general nature thereof? Seeing none. Can I get an approval of the minutes from our committee meeting held on April 21st, please? Moved by Brent, seconded by, oh, I don't need a seconder. We're in committee. All those in favor? Thank you. And now we're going to welcome Aaron Thompson from McKillican and Associates to do a high level of overview of our financials. So Aaron, I'm going to pass the.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you, Jennifer, for letting me present today. I'm just going to go over some major areas with the financial statements today. Does everybody have a set of financials in front of them? Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to start by going through the second page in the package, which is the management responsibility. That basically points out that the financial statements are the responsibility of the townships, and they're prepared in accordance with the Canadian Public Sector Accounting Standards. And then if you want to flip to, it has page 1, it's your 4th page, but it says page 1 at the top. It's your independent auditor's report. So in here we have a number of paragraphs. I'll just touch on them briefly just so that everybody knows what the report is. So the opinion paragraph is with the Township of Bonnechere Valley that includes the library as well, and that the statements have been audited, and in our opinion the financial statements are presented fairly. And then the basis for the opinion that states that it's in accordance with the Canadian generally accepted auditing standards, and also that we as a firm are independent. And then there's the management responsibilities paragraph. That's the section of the auditor's report that describes the responsibility of those in the organization, so the township, that's responsible for the preparation of the financial statements. And lastly, the last paragraph, it's the auditor's responsibility. So it states the responsibility of the auditors to express an opinion on the financial statements. Oh, I don't know what happened there. Sorry, it got small. Okay, can you still see me? No.
Yeah, we can see Annette's screen now. Look at that.
Yeah. Okay,
There you are.
there we go. That's okay. So the bottom paragraph, as I was saying, is just the audit was done in accordance with Canadian generally accepted auditing standards, and also states that the evidence is sufficient and appropriate. And similar to other years, you'll see a link in the bottom. It provides additional information on the description of the auditor's responsibilities if you need any more information on that. So then we'll go over to the page 2. This is the consolidated statement of the financial positions. So as you can see, I'm just going to go through a comparative between last year and this year and give you an idea of what happened during the year. So cash is down as of the end of the year by 900,000. Now, mostly that is due to the road construction this year and the funding that is in receivables, which we'll get to, but the funding is still to come in as of the end of the year for the road construction. So, and taxes receivable are comparable to the prior year. Not a lot of change there. And as I said, there you'll see the big difference in accounts receivable. It's up by about 1.8 million. So we're really waiting on the funding for the provincial and federal funding for the road construction. There is the bigger thing there. The other assets is mostly made up of the canteen and bar inventory. It's comparable to the year before. The notes receivable is the amounts due from the Eganville Generation Corporation, and it's an increase from 30,000 from the prior year, which is based on the activity in the year. And then the investment in Eganville Generation. So it has changed by 92,000, which is the result of the net income or net loss from EGC for 2019. And that's mostly your assets. And then your accounts payable start there, and they're up about 200,000. The bulk of that increase is due to the construction for the roads that we still have a payable owing at the end of the year for one of the roads. And then your deferred revenues down 23,000 as a result of some use of some of the grants. We still have some deferred from other years, but it's come down about 23,000. And then the long-term liabilities, there was no new long-term debt this year, so it's come down by the principal payments by about $400,000. And then the landfill closure and post-closure costs that are estimated by the engineers, and so we base that off the engineer report, and it's down about 34,000. And the employee future benefits, it's made up of vacation to be paid out in future, and it's comparable to the prior year as well. So that'll bring us down to the tangible capital assets, and it's up about 800,000, and that's a result of the capital additions exceeding the amortization for the year. So, and inventory, which consists mostly of salt and sand for the roads, and that fluctuates based on what's been purchased and what you use throughout the year. And prepaid expenses, it's down just a little bit, but comparable to last year, and it's mostly made up of insurance and some smaller prepaids. So it brings us down to your accumulated surplus. So it's comprised, so the equity and tangible capital assets, it's increased about 1.2 million. That's from additions exceeding amortization as well as financing costs. And that's what goes into there. And then the reserves, it's gone up about 500,000. The main contributor to that one would be the one of the grants that was given to the township this year that was not used this year and will be deferred and used in further years. So, and then you got your general surplus. So that's the 2018-2019 surplus. And we'll review that when we review the general surplus statement. The equity in government business enterprise, it's down as a result of the financial results of the Eganville Generation Corporation. And the library board is also based on, it fluctuates based on the financial results of the library as well. And the unfunded employee future benefits, as we discussed above, that's vacation that'll be paid out in future years. And the landfill costs is down a little bit just based on the engineer's results. Is there any questions on the statement of financial position?
Yes, go ahead, Murph.
Aaron, are you going to speak more in the future on the library audit?
I can speak, yeah, did like the financial statements were, you mean today?
Yes, yeah, I've just got a basic question.
Okay,
We have about 80,000 plus cash in bank.
okay.
How do you spend that?
How do you spend that?
How do you spend that?
Is there costs that the library
Well,
has?
no, well, see what happens, Aaron. As I see it, over the years, the boards have been careful, the librarians have been careful, and we've had $8,000, $9,000, $10,000 surplus at the end of the year. That is
Okay.
accumulated. We're up to our 80,000 now. So if we want to use some of that 80,000, how do we use it? Because as soon as January 1 next year rolls over, we're on a new budget. How do we use that?
Well, some of it'll be cash, some of it'll be cash in the bank, right?
Well, yeah, this is what I want. It comes under cash in bank. And according
Yes.
to our librarian, she feels actually that cash is there. So how do we spend it? Do we draft a negative budget? How do we spend it?
Yes, like, so you would budget to be more, I think right now that it's not always budgeted for the fundraising and that, so it ends up being a surplus in those areas where fundraising and donations aren't budgeted for. So your regular expenses, even if they come close to budget, as well as your other income, then you're still going to end up with a surplus at the end of the year. So even if you stay within budget on your expenses. So right now, you would set to be tighter and closer to your bottom line.
So how do we spend that? Assuming we've budgeted 18,000 as fundraisers, we know that's not going to happen. Can we take
Okay.
18,000? Can we take 18 or 20,000 out of cash and put it in the budget to cover those fundraisers? How do we handle that?
Well, you wouldn't put it, you would say whatever you think is fundraising, and then you can spend more than what's in the budget to eat up some of that reserve money. You know, if your revenues are, 100,000 and then your expenses are 120, then you're going to be eating into your reserves of 20,000.
But I think that maybe that there's a disconnect here. Merv, you don't take money out of the bank and put it into revenues. It's one is an income statement and one is a balance sheet.
Correct.
But if you wanted to run a deficit, then that would appear out of your reserves on your balance sheet.
Right. Like it would show your revenue and your expenses. And then if there's, you can run a deficit in your budget to use some of that reserve money out of there. Absolutely.
See, that's what concerns me. This has been building up.
Sure.
And we're not spending out of it because I've asked this question several times. How do we spend it? Do we go over budget, or how do we spend it?
Well, you would budget your revenue accordingly so that it is, as close to actual as you can. And then you can spend more than what you're budgeting for this year, because you would then be taking money out of prior year's funds, the reserves, basically. Yeah.
So Aaron, as you know, the library, maybe you don't know, the library budget does have 18,000 in revenues budgeted for this year out of fundraising.
Okay.
What Merv is saying is there's probably no way, since a lot of things have been canceled this year, that those funds would be realized. So
Right.
I think to get to sort of the nut of the problem here, I would say, Merv, that yes, you leave that as a budgeted amount. You're not going to have that amount.
Right.
And at the end of the year, Aaron can then do an adjustment between the deficit, the budget, and the surpluses.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks, Aaron.
No problem.
Okay, let's go.
Okay. So the next page, on page 3, you'll see the consolidated statement of operations. I'm going to move forward from that as I'm going to look at the statement, the general surplus statement on page 16, as it presents a better picture for the township of the reserve transfers as well as the general surplus. So if you could just turn to page 16, and you'll see it's called the Schedule of General Operations. Is everybody there? Okay. So in here, you'll see that the biggest difference in here, like on the revenue side, the biggest difference in there will be your revenue is up by about 1.7 million. So there's a couple of places in there. So that would be due to the provincial and federal funding in Ontario, and the Ontario and Canada government transfers there, the 3 million and the 1 million. So there was some additional grants got given this year to the township for some road construction. So those are that's the big difference in there, as well as a grant for modernization. So that's the big difference in revenue there for the 1.7 million. And then the expenses, they're fairly comparable to budget. They're a little under budget by about 300 and some thousand. It's made up of various things, like transportation and recreation would be your biggest ones. And those would be the under budget amounts. For transportation would be in materials, and in recreation it'd be various savings in your arena revenues. So then if you come down, so that alone, you have a $1.9 million surplus before transfers to reserves and before capital. So underneath the transfers, you'll see the 522,000 that's been transferred to reserves for future use for the township, as well as the transfer to equity, the tangible capital assets, the 1.2 million. So that's your capital component of the total surplus. So at the end of it, your total surplus was $217,000. And was there any questions on that?
That's great, Erin. Thanks so much. Any questions from council? Seeing none. All right. So I guess, Erin, you've done your job well.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Erin.
All right. Bye. Leaving meeting.
All right. And I see that we're ahead of schedule here, and we've got Daryl for our water and sewer report. That was an exhausting report to read, Daryl.
I bet you it was. So anyways, everything's going smooth.
Great. Does anybody have anything for Daryl on his extensive report? Oh, Jack, did you have your hand up? No, you're on mute, Jack.
No, I don't have any questions.
Sorry, I thought I saw your hand up there.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Daryl, it was lovely to see you, or kind of see you. Seriously, you look like you're on Dateline. Thank you very much, Daryl. Okay, and we're not, Jason is on at 2:15. So I think what we'll do to use our time wisely here is go straight down to correspondence. Was there anything on correspondence that anybody wanted to discuss? Yeah, I think we've got a resolution of our own that's gonna blow up and make our correspondence huge next time, right, Annette? I'll add that resolution into tonight's meeting. So nothing on correspondence, gang? Okay. So I'm gonna move on to the County of Renfrew update. You're gonna have to bear with me, guys. This was a 6.5-hour meeting and a lot of discussion. As you know, we're not holding committee meetings right now, so our council meetings are taking a bit longer than expected. We had some reports. We have a crisis communication plan and a lot of public service announcements going out. The best practices from the county are being sent to our local tier municipalities so that we can follow along and our messaging through this crisis is consistent. In financials, so it was noted from our rep, Glenn Doncaster, who sits on the FCM panel, that they are lobbying the federal government for some substantial money for COVID relief for municipalities. So as I've said before, we need to track every single cost and loss of revenue. This would include any overtime, even Annette, Mark's iPad. I would say Steve's online training that we approved that would have normally not been in our budget. Lysol wipes, the cleaner, anything like that that is part of this COVID-19 crisis should be outlined so that if we are lucky enough to be able to apply for some of this funding, if the feds accept it, then we'll be ready to apply right away. You know, we know about and I really appreciate the report on the lost revenues. That was very interesting, you know, to think about our arena, like not only interest on taxation, but so many of these different departments that are at a loss. Even I would say, and I know that this isn't guaranteed money, but I think that we should be denoting what the library fundraisers would have brought in, what the golf tournament would have brought in, what the boot toll would have brought in. So all these different departments that have varying degrees of fundraisers, I think we need to keep those in mind as lost revenues because they certainly do assist in other things that we do in the township. Obviously suspended penalties and interest. Our long-term care homes, I'm sure everybody has been following along, seeing what the long-term care homes across Ontario are doing, especially in the city of Toronto. It is absolutely heartbreaking. We have been very, very, very lucky. At the outset, we made sure that our PSWs and our nurses were not going from home to home or even home or long-term care home to, you know, they work at a grocery store. So we've made those people just decide what path they're going to take. And I certainly think that that's helped with our, I'm going to call it cross-contamination that we've seen in our larger cities. We've had 0 residents at this point confirmed positive, 1 staff member, and we went over a very strict PPE protocol, extremely stringent. Shelley Sheedy, the director of our long-term care homes, took us through, you know, a daily what happens when one of the staff come in to the building, all sorts of protocols to ensure our most vulnerable are taken care of. Our paramedics, as you all know, are doing on-site testing. This is absolutely freeing up other entities from doing these tests. They are, sorry, I can't read my own writing now. So the numbers, they did, Mike Nolan, our chief, did an amazing PowerPoint presentation that I can share with you about what's good that's going on and what the challenges are that are going on. One of the things that I will note, though, if I send it out to you, obviously the very first page, the numbers are a moving target. From the time the chief did the PowerPoint to our Wednesday meeting, the numbers had changed by about 3,000 cases. So it's a moving target. All right, DNP, development and property. And Annette, maybe I'll let you talk about the official plan. I did share the fact that we are probably going to pass a resolution this evening with regard to the official plan and the timing of which it was dropped and the timing of some of these applications. So Annette, I'll come back around to you in a minute. They did stand up and I did say to County Council that this is completely unacceptable, and we will be sending this out to all of Renfrew County. The Economic Development Task Force was stood up on April 23rd. Lots of great discussion about what is going to happen with our economic development, especially after this crisis is over. One of the things that I brought up, and it's been an ongoing phone call and email extravaganza for me, because these federal and provincial funding announcements are changing almost daily. There's been a lot of confusion. So my question was, do we as the upper tier and the local tier have a role in assisting people trying to access these different funds? For example, the CERB. I know that there was a mass confusion about the 10%. The 10% was actually for employers with their payroll remittance. So a lot of confusion surrounding some of these different fundings. In public works, as you all know, critical infrastructure is going on, and the RFPs are going out. So it's, that I think that that's a really a good news story, especially for our construction industry. So Annette, can I throw this back to you for a minute and we can talk about the official plan resolution?
Sure. So I don't know how much council is aware or how much you've been involved, but I know the County of Renfrew, the mayor would also be aware, has been working on their review of the official plan, which has to happen every 5 years. I believe it's every 10 years now. And it's definitely been going on in the County of Renfrew for at least 5 years, if not longer. So this has been an ongoing process. And I know that the and the elected have fought hard with the ministry and with the province to try and come up with some Renfrew County solutions for development and for things that they are requesting. Now, some of these were successful and some of them were not successful. So when this came down, I do feel that Renfrew County did have its say. I think that the county, and again, Mayor Murphy, I would refer to you, really pushed hard for a lot of the changes to the official plan, and that's why it was only adopted partly, not wholly. And so I think we did get some extensions. We did get a lot of assistance from the province, but there were some areas where they absolutely wouldn't budge, which, why that is, I don't know. But the timing of this decision, so I feel like we were aware that this decision was coming, but to time it in the middle of COVID-19 when, surveyors aren't working, consultants aren't working, municipal staff is half is working from home, to be able to try to roll this out and adapt to it and the impacts economically as well, because there will be some development that now will likely not go through. So I did have a discussion with the county planning staff to sort of ask, is there a possibility or is there a way to interpret this decision, which, they only got notice 2 days after it was passed anyway. It was effective, March 26th, and they got notice March 30th that it was already effective. So I asked them if there was any way possible to, anything that was in the queue, any planning inquiries, anything that had been put in draft, things that people were already working on, can they all go through the old process, or do they all have to start over? Because as I'm sure everyone's aware, that's a difficult process for everybody to go through, and you will get people that get frustrated and say, forget it. And in these times, we need growth. We definitely need the support of the province to allow these to go through. So in putting together a draft resolution for council's consideration for tonight, basically just asking for an extension on this effective date. I understand that a lot went into making this decision. I understand the province, the county. There are other things that I'm sure we're all not happy with, and we can definitely have a further discussion on that. But what I would like before the county staff really puts a whole bunch of time into this and gets this put forward and notifies, which they may have already done at this point, but it may not be too late to turn back the clock a little bit, in notifying all these developers that now you're going to be moved to the new OP and you're going to have to start over. What I would like is an extension, and I suggested a July date. Is that too soon? Should it be a September date? I don't know, because by the time we get a response back from the province, it probably won't be till June. But try to give people a little bit of time to go ahead and put through what's already been prepared, what's already in the queue, and give them time to be able to contact their consultants and contact their surveyors and contact their lawyers, because the county has everything they need, but they're waiting for, well, we just need one more document from the lawyer, we just need confirmation on this, or we just need whatever. Well, it's impossible to get that. So then all these that were sitting in the queue that are waiting for one more thing but are stuck without the ability to move forward because of COVID-19 have now been blasted with this. So really looking for support from everybody in Renfrew County, including the county, to get this date at least extended. If we can't change the decision, can we extend the date? That's it.
Thank you, Annette. So I'm assuming everybody has read the resolution or the recommendation. Yes, Murph.
Yep, there's an awful lot of material there to digest. One of the things that stood out to me, this government seems to have found the word may, which previous governments haven't. I was surprised, if I interpreted correctly, that they're trying to download the species, endangered species legislation to the municipality, but I mean, these are things we have to sit down and discuss. It's a long document, as you know, a lot of there to digest. Yeah, and defer it as far as we can. We've got too many things on the table.
I've spent a lot of hours on this file. I was the warden, of course, when we were meeting with the parliamentary assistant, MPP Jim McDonnell, about this issue. It's been a real thorn in our side, but I think we definitely need to get this resolution out as quickly as possible to our neighbors. Brent, did you have something? I saw you unmuted yourself. No. Yeah, Tim.
Yeah, I think pushing it to September would hopefully give some people a little more time. If we could, I would much rather see us with a few more months than a few less. So yeah, I'm trying to digest it all myself too, and it's quite a task. So yes, I would love to see it get shoved ahead a little bit further into September or even later. But I mean, if everybody else decides September is the date for the resolution, I'm fine, or whatever. But for me, a little bit further is better than closer.
Well, since we're bringing it forward this evening or late this afternoon, I'm sure that, Annette, you can change the date. That would just be a friendly amendment.
Yep.
Right.
I was just going to say, Annette, how many applications, or since the OP got put out, how many in our queue right now would impact directly our municipality that our residents are going through county at right now?
So I know there's definitely applications in for 7 lots that may or may not happen. I don't know. What I don't know is how many general inquiries are sitting in there that just haven't had the chance to move forward and have now been notified. So if you've submitted your general inquiry and you got a notice back from the county saying, yep, this looks good, here are the things that you'll have to do, and you've decided, okay, this is great, I want to move forward with this, we're going to go ahead. Now you've received a second notice saying, so we know that we originally told you that all you had to do was do. Now you've got to do other studies, you've got to do other things, this is what you have to do. And what I don't know is what is the effect for those that maybe haven't moved all the way through. So unless you were ready to be finalized, I mean, this took place, this is a March date. So unless you were ready to be finalized before COVID-19, everybody else is sitting in the queue and unable to move forward. So well, I mean, they can move forward, but it's through the new OP, which is a lot more restrictive. And also you're trying to find people to help you even sort your way through it, because people just aren't working. And, you know, even the county staff to try and put this together and send out all these letters and re-review and all this, when we're already pressured to get stuff done at this time is I think Mayor Murphy, your words at County Council were reckless.
Yes, my words at County Council were reckless. Yeah. I think you just hit the nail on the head though, and that realistically, it's not only about getting application into the county of Renfrew, it's all the other steps that you have to take to make that application a reality. And since people just aren't working, I don't know how on earth, especially with that drop dead date of March 26th, I don't know how you do it. So, but I did use the word reckless. You are correct.
Yeah. So, and that's just us. I can, if you're looking countywide, how many applications are there? I have no idea.
I couldn't tell you. I mean, I could probably tell you the applications, but your words are like sitting in the queue, and those are the ones that we're worried about.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, anything further on that recommended resolution? So we'll just have a friendly amendment to extend that date to September.
Yep.
Perfect. Thank you, guys. All right, we don't have Jason yet. So we've gone through the draft financial statements with Aaron. I think that was a good high level overview. We seem to be in fairly good shape. So, you know, congratulations to our great budgeting, but also most of all to our amazing department heads. I think we're certainly going to need all the help we can get for this year's budget. All right, COVID-19 financial implications report. Very interesting.
Yes, I had asked Sandra to put this together for council, and yeah, I mean, there's lost revenues. Yes, there are some expenses. As you were saying, there may be some more expenses that we have to reallocate between extra hours for cleaning staff and things like that. So yeah, I don't.
So when we had split shifts for our roads department, and maybe this is a question for Jason, did they get the hour or the $1 more bump up for working at night? Because if so, that's got to go into this account.
Okay, I don't know. I'll have to double check that with Jason.
So I'm saying, like, if you need to have somebody sign something in the parking lot and you give them that pen, the pen goes in that fund.
Yeah. So.
Did anybody have anything on the financial implications? I think as we start to go through this, I know that at this point, the expenses are only about $2,000. I think we're going to see a hike in that. Oh, and we have Jason. So I'm going to, no, not yet.
Is only available to attend by phone today, and that's why we don't have a picture. Oh, he's connecting to audio.
Audio. Nope. All right, well, we're waiting for Jason to log in. Was there anything on the electricity commodity cost review? The Integrity Commissioner annual report. And a huge congratulations to Annette. Hi, Jay. To Annette and Sandra for their accreditations with AMCTO. Way to go. I like the line, like you're part of, they didn't use the word elite. I can't think of the, like a fancy club that you're part of now. Very impressive, ladies. Look at that. Look at that. Nice work. All right, so that's all of our new and unfinished business, and it is 2:15, and there is Jason. So does anybody have anything on Jason's report, or Jason, do you have anything to update us on?
No, everything's been
just status quo. We're just trying to keep ahead of our maintenance on roads and vehicles, trying to get everything caught up. We have started our sweeping, but computers and engines don't get along sometimes, so we broke down again.
Oh,
Oh, yeah. So
Okay.
we have a technician coming in to hopefully get it up and running, and then we can continue on.
because if there was if there was ever a good time to be sweeping, it's now.
I know. It's nice and cool and dry and good to go. But
How's morale?
everyone seems to be good,
Good,
really good. Yep.
excellent. Okay. Yes, Jack, go ahead. You're on mute, Jack.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, Jason, just touching in on this sweeper,
Yep.
costing us a ton of money, eh? Recently,
Yeah.
like, we've only had it for not even 2 years, and I'm looking, and now you're saying it's broke again, but I'm looking at costs. I just went over some stuff here. And I'm looking at just repair costs of over $35,000 in a couple of years. Like, is this, and we hardly ever use this thing.
No, I know, Jack. It was one of those pieces of equipment that it's the same old thing. When they're running good, they're running, but when they're not, it's it's a pain in the butt. But when we purchased that piece of machinery, we knew that there was going to be some extra repairs because the machine to buy a new one, to buy a used one that was comparable was 3 times as much as what we paid for that piece of machinery. So when we purchased that, we knew that there was going to be some additional costs that would come up.
Yeah, because right now we're looking at, we almost doubled the cost of what we purchased it for. Not quite, but we're closing in on it. And if if it's down again, the time we need it, it's, I don't know. I think there has to be a little more care taken when we're going to purchase equipment like this. Because it's something, it's not like it's a plow truck where we can have another one to back up and it takes a little longer to plow,
Yes.
This is the only piece of equipment we have.
Yes.
Yes,
Anyways,
Yeah, I wonder if it wouldn't be worthwhile, Jason, checking in with some people maybe to do a subcontract or something like that with something like, to get some prices on what it would cost,
Yeah.
to do that, because I do know neighboring municipalities just rent the people for a little while, and when it breaks, they look after it. It might be something to look into.
Yes. Okay.
we talked about that a couple of years ago before we purchased this piece of equipment.
That's right.
And I can't put my finger on why we went this way. There was, I don't know whether it was the timing or I'd have to reach back in my memory and in the minutes of that meeting, which I can do. Yes, Merv, go ahead.
I think at the time that there were other companies not readily available.
I see,
I
Merv,
think that's
correct.
That sticks out in my mind.
Yes.
It was something about the timing that didn't work, but there is no reason that we shouldn't be looking back into this.
the machine. What happened before was the machine was in an accident, and it was one of those times where we had to look for a piece of equipment to finish us off for that summer, that season, right?
Right. Tim, did you have your hand up?
I see Jack did, and I'll go after Jack. Go ahead.
Okay, go ahead, Jack.
we're just looking at this as a piece of equipment. When we look at it, we only use it for maybe a week or a week and a half, and it's running a huge cost. And if it's broke again, like I know I was just in there a week ago and I signed repair work on it for like almost $22,000. So I don't understand, after somebody's worked on it that thoroughly, how it can be just broke down again.
What had happened, Jack, is when it broke last fall,
Yeah,
the thing was, I couldn't find anyone that was able to work on that piece of machinery. So I had contacted a company in Ottawa, Before we sent it down, I asked if they could fix it, and their answer was yes. And it went down there, it spent the winter down there, and they didn't get any farther than what we could have done here at the garage ourselves. They didn't have the proper schematics, and they didn't have the proper people to work on it.
Yeah, I just think careful that we're not just throwing money into a white elephant here, Jason. That's all.
Yes, I realize that, Jack. Yeah.
But like, if this thing's just a money pit, it's, it's soon you have to stop the bleeding sometime. Because is it just that it's not operating now? Or is it the same problem, or is it totally something new?
It's the ECU on the computer for the motor,
Right.
which was part of the problem before, but there was also wiring issues that were pinched off because of lack of maintenance prior to
Right.
buying it.
So basically, and if you start starving stuff on this, you can destroy some of the things on the motherboard. Will just continue to crop up. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
it's an old piece of equipment, and I think you have to be cautious what you're going to do and how much money you want to spend on this. And I think real seriously, we have to, like Tim said, revisit if we can get a contractor in to help us out or whatever to do something and go from there. You know what I mean? Because
Yes.
it just strikes me as a money pit from all the checks I've been signing on it. That's all.
Okay. Yes.
Tim, go ahead.
Yeah, I was over in BLR last week, and I see that where our municipality meets theirs, their roads have all been swept already and looked after. And, I was kind of looking at ours, and they do subcontract as well. So, there are guys out there that are doing it and, doing it in a timely fashion. So
There was other
if we're
issues.
if we're only doing it for a week or so a year, sometimes, like I say, you're better off to get a price on it, but I sure as I know that it's going to be a lot less than $35,000 a pop.
There was issues too about getting parts. We had to order some parts, and they were delivered to a different area, not to our operational garage, and they got lost, and that's why there was a bit of delay also getting started.
Yes, Annette, go ahead.
Thank you. It's the only thing that I would caution is there are a lot of other municipalities doing it, like as Tim said, through subcontract. But if we go in together, there's good savings, which is great. But we also have to make sure timing wise. So, you've also got the service delivery component where if we all want it at the same time, yes, it's more expensive to own your own, but sometimes it delivers better service because then it's available as soon as we want it or as soon as we can do it, or if Jason's guys are free or whichever. I'm not saying that's which option is better, just something to consider when you're considering how large a group you want to get into with tendering subcontracting. So.
Well, you stole that out of my brain. I was just going to say this might be a very interesting shared service. But thanks, Annette. Thanks for stealing that from me. No, this is unacceptable. I mean, there's no way at this time that we would be tendering for a new sweeper or even a used one. I mean, this is not the time to be spending money. So Jay, I would say definitely, Tim and Jack have both spoken about it. Let's see if there's somebody out there that can do this. If we're throwing good money after bad, it's unacceptable.
Yeah, I have a few contacts that are local, fairly local.
Okay. Did anybody have anything further for? Yes, go ahead, Merv.
I was just going to make a general comment for Jason there. I'm sure Jason is aware that he's not alone. Farmers are pulling their hair up with all the electronics on these tractors, and they're having problems. And that's why farmers are rebuilding old tractors without electronics on them. It's a kind of an industry-wide problem when they've gone to electronics.
Yeah, basically we just drive big computers now.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's right.
But an ECU is that's not an inexpensive part.
No, it's, I have another technician coming today. He didn't have the right software yesterday, and he's gonna hook up to it again today and see where the issues are. And it's nothing that is major, I'm hoping. I think it's just a glitch in the system for the on the ECU.
You might want to ask the guy to your left there if his scan tool can do the sweeper.
Tim?
No,
Oh,
Dave.
I think you meant
Oh.
Dave, but there again, it all depends on the engine and what Dave's capable
Yeah.
of looking up to, so Dave will be able to tell you that.
I'd have to get the details of what engine's in it, what software and whatnot, if it has an OBD too, like a vehicle plugin. If
Yes,
it
it does.
does, we may be able to do it.
Okay. All right, I'll give you the information after council.
Okay.
Yes, Chuck, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to touch on one other thing, Jason. I know it's hard to get the road maintenance and everything all done, but I've had a couple complaints about the grading that was done on Risto Road. And I personally drove it the other day, and it was, I don't know, I don't grade. I know some people that do grade, and my son's just has grade course, whatever. My opinion and a couple other graders' opinions would be the guy that did it was obviously in a rush. And anyways, hopefully you're getting somebody back out there to fix that. And
Yeah.
it was in pretty bad shape, but I think you drove it as well, Merv, eh?
Yes,
And you know, it's so
potholes were filled, but now you had washboard.
yeah.
Okay.
Now,
I-
the other issue.
I
Sorry,
didn't
go ahead,
drive
Jen.
it, but I got the complaint that it was a washboard. So I didn't know that it was previously potholed, but that it was they even made the sound for me, the boom, 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 boom. So
Now, I also had the operators bring in the sod so we could, when we finish off, that the water can get off, that there's no ridges on the edges. So that's another issue why it is rougher right now, till they get back and do the second grading, which is going to be done tomorrow.
Yeah, but even bringing in the sod, Jason, I drove it, and the sod was some of the holes, and most of the holes, they didn't even cut deep enough to get the holes out, right?
Okay.
If your holes are still there and you have this, you can see the holes when it's anyways, I'm not gonna
Yep.
comment any further.
No, that's fine.
I guess the other thing I'm just touching on, I'm just wondering, have you got all the wings off the trucks yet? Because I've been seeing them running up and down the road with the wings on, hauling fill and stuff. So,
Yeah, we were cleaning up at Sand Road, Jack.
okay.
We're trying to get everything we can done, but when we were short, you know, we were trying to keep everybody separated, and you know,
Yeah,
it's tough to get things done when you only have half the people.
go ahead.
Just looking at the current conditions there, Jason, it's been very dry. I'm sure Dave can attest to that too with what's going on out there. Can you give me any idea when our dust suppression is going to be added to our graded roads?
I have to put that out on tender, Tim.
Uh-huh.
So I'm probably going to do that next week.
Okay.
Get that tender out. We usually apply that usually by the end of May, once all the grading is finalized, and then everything should be in good shape, not wheel tracked or anything, and then it gets into a good hard state for the summer.
Yeah, and I just wanted to know, like, if anybody asked me because I've noticed it myself driving on Silver Lake Road, that the dust is coming up pretty hard now. Just if I do get asked, that I can give an answer to someone if they ask me when we're going to start putting some calcium down.
Yep. So it'll be the end of May for sure.
Okay, thanks, Jason.
All right, does anybody have anything further for Jason? All right, thanks, Jay.
All right, everybody
Stay
take care.
safe.
You too, guys.
Okay, Chief, over to you.
Okay. So our call count has been fairly low the last couple of months, which is good. We haven't had anything major go on, except the one fire that we did have up in Flymount. But other than that, people seem to be behaving themselves with regards to the fire ban. Getting lots and lots of phone calls, wondering when it's going to be lifted and what can we burn, what we can't. We can burn what we can't burn, what we can use, what we can't. And I keep referring them back to the MNRF site where the rules for restricted fire zone are. And I'll go through some of them with everybody here, just so in case you get phone calls, you kind of know where they're coming from. We're as I've said in our emergency operation committee meetings, our actual practical training is still on hold. We're still doing the theory training online and meeting via phone conference calls and whatnot. The only thing that we have done, we did do some practical pump training, which can be done with physical distancing. We were able to put 18,000 gallons of water back into the Flymount Reservoir on last Saturday. And we're going to continue to do that. We have quite a few people that are really interested and keen on becoming pumper operators. And they're going through for the DZ licenses, and I've been training with them up until this COVID situation happened, but we're able to do it safely, keep our distances, let these people drive and operate the pumpers, and it's worked out really, really well. At least for this Saturday, it's worked out well, and we're going to continue to do that moving forward so that we know we have lots of water up in Flymount, because as everybody knows, and Tim said it was dry, there's very little water up in Flymount, and we really need that reservoir, and it's definitely a priority. So that will continue moving forward. Our apparatus pump testing is going to happen on Thursday this week. What they're doing is they're doing a contactless service now. So we'll need staff at the fire hall to be able to move the apparatus in and out, engage the pumps, operate the trucks while the technician does his measurements and readings and whatnot. So the guy coming is our normal person that comes from Iron Prior. He is not going to be touching the vehicles at all, inside or out, just to maintain that distance. So which is good. So I'm happy to see that they're on board doing that kind of thing and continuing to service, because it's important that we do get them tested, and any issues we find that it's addressed right away, and we're not stuck with a broken truck and no way to keep it in service. So as everybody knows, yeah, the level 2 ban is still on. I've gotten zero indication from the province myself as to when that will be lifted. It won't be before May 31st. If the provincial government extends the state of emergency, it'll continue. It'll follow the state of emergency. So I'm not sure what to say as far as, it's definitely putting a damper on people that have come up here, have a lot of yard waste, and have nowhere to they can dispose of it at the dump sites, and I've told people to do that. But there's a lot of people that don't have the capability of doing that. They don't have trailers, and they want to burn it as everybody else does in the country, and it's just one of those things that has to stay on hold for now. So you said our protocols have remained in place. We haven't gone forward with anything else except the remote training right now. We have had some calls with illegal burning. We've been out educating people and leaving business cards. There was one address that had multiple fires that we were never able to catch them actually doing it. So I left a business card with the information on it, and they haven't burnt since. So this was obviously something that they were not aware of, and now they are. So hopefully they stay compliant like that. So some of the key highlights that I've been downloaded on in the last little while from the OFM, the emails are fast and furious from them, from the Ministry of Health, updating us constantly, asking for us, our inventory, our staff personnel, that kind of stuff. So I just want to go through a few things if we have some time. We did have our very first fire marshal teleconference was March 30th. This was when there was this was all new, and they were pushing the fire departments to make sure that they used PPE appropriately, talking about the shortage of PPE and the fact that we need to hang on to our expired N95 masks. The onus was really put on the municipalities to source their own. The province is working and has been working on being able to, of course, we're in a better situation now, but back at the beginning, the province was short and they were really pushing the municipalities to do their own thing and reach out and get in sort of a waiting list when it comes to PPE for COVID protection. Also, the fire marshal's office wanted to, I don't know why this came up, but during the state of emergency, it was reinforced that we're not exempt from meeting the Occupational Health and Safety Act. So that was a key point, and I'm not sure what happened for that to be brought up. I would assume that we would always be part of that, but we're not exempt from it, but that was something. And the use of eye protection. Early on, we had, I guess the larger cities had lots of calls, medical calls and whatnot. And eye protection wasn't necessarily used because we all thought this was a respiratory thing. And as it turned out, when authorities knew that it was aspirational and it was, also airborne, eye protection became mandatory as well when first responders are dealing with potentially sick people. So some important stuff. Moving on to the use of the N95, we have lots of information coming from the government with regards to the use of the N95 respirators. We don't do medical like a lot of other bigger departments do, so we haven't really been exposed to having to deal with this kind of stuff. So our PPE numbers are pretty good right now. We were donated a bunch of N95 masks. Although they're expired, we were still told not to throw them out. And of course, Steve has provided, we did have some previously, but Steve has also provided us with the dust type mask. And, at this point, if you can't put distance between yourself and say a victim of an accident or somebody at a fire or whatnot, we do have stuff, even if we have to wear SCBAs if we're at a fire, keep that stuff on. We've been telling our people, if you don't have immediate access to a mask, keep your SCBA on when you're dealing with people, right? At least there you still have a barrier, although it seems like overkill, but it's still putting a barrier between you and people. So at least for now, that's our protocol. So the restricted fire zone declaration, we were emailed on April 2nd regarding this. Everybody's heard about it, but a few things I'd like to just talk about the key points of what the restricted zone is actually restricting. So we have no open air fires are allowed unless the fire is for cooking or warmth. But the caveat here is it has to be a stove or installation prescribed in the outdoor fire regulation. So it has to be in a gas cooking stove, like a camp stove, that has the shut off capability. So if it's knocked off a table, it shuts itself off automatically. The gas does. That's pretty specific. It's not an open air fire, but it is something that people can use if, I don't know who, it was like a Coleman type stove, right? That's allowed to be used because it also has a lid on it. Campfires are not allowed. Organized campgrounds, some exceptions to this for organized campgrounds, but organized campgrounds are closed. So there's really no issue there right now. And that was really our big thing when it came to the drought season, when the restricted zone came in. Although our local campgrounds did comply, campgrounds did outside of our area did still allow campfires, but we don't have that issue right now. Charcoal barbecues can be used if they're permanent structures or portable and within 100 meters of a dwelling. So you can't take your charcoal barbecue out into the bush with you. Outdoor burning wood stoves and furnaces must be completely enclosed with solid material and be 100 meters away from dwelling. We know a lot of them aren't like that. And fire permits are not permittable. So it's basically no open air fires. And
if I may, Chief, there was something very interesting in a press conference last week with the province. Minister Yakubuski was there, and he was fielding questions, of course, about the fire ban. One of the things that was brought up was that some Indigenous communities use fires for different ceremonies. And so what Yak's opinion was phone your district office, phone your municipality, phone your fire chief to see if a special permit can be given. So I just want to put the caveat out there that, you know, if we see small fires on the res at Pikwakanagan, then, you know, people have to understand that there's a ceremonial, a spiritual reason behind it.
And yeah, with that, that's something that the province, that's being First Nations, I'm not sure what kind of authority the province has on restricting open air fires on First Nations. That would be something that if somebody from there or the chief of Pikwakanagan Fire Department had that request, they would go to the province, but I'm not sure the province may push that up the line to the feds to be able to get permission to do that. I'm not sure exactly how that, the municipal at their level, I'm not sure he has the authority, but the province or the feds might do it. I'm just not sure how that works. I'm not sure what the chain is there as far as because we know some First Nations have their own police if they don't have contract OPP. So I'm not sure what the rules are there, but they very well could be allowed. Yeah.
I just thought it was an interesting question.
Yeah.
And it hadn't occurred to me, of course. So
yeah.
And having Pikwakanagan as our neighbor, you know, I want people to be aware that they might see puffs of smoke if there's a certain ceremony going on.
No, for sure. And one of our biggest questions is the bowls, the propane bowls that people would have on their back deck. I've gotten a lot of emails, and Laura and I has gotten a lot of emails about it and inquiries. And it's technically it's open air. This is, and people don't understand because this isn't about drought, and the restricted regulation, they can't open that up and say, okay, because of this is COVID, so we're going to modify the restricted regulation when we make you a restricted zone. They didn't do that. They just left the rules as they were, as if we were in a drought. And people don't understand that, and people need to realize that this isn't about the fact that although it is dry, our indices are medium to low right now because of the rain we've had and the cool nights. This is strictly the government wanting to make sure that, you know, their fire crews aren't fighting forest fires when they don't need to because they're man-made, right? So, you know, it's one of these, it's just another burden that we have until this COVID-19 emergency is over. So there's really not much we can do about it. People just don't understand, and they kind of need to get, you know, it's kind of the same thing as the social distancing. It's the same thing as, you know, standing in a line up outside of Walmart because you can't get in because there's too many people in there. This is just another tentacle of the emergency restrictions. So, so moving on, we've got, of course, a memorandum did come from Deputy Minister of Health regarding PPE, asking first responder municipalities and fire departments to make sure they source their PPE on their own and don't rely on the province to get it to you right now. It's just one of those things. It's a big scale operation trying to figure out who needs it and how to get it to them. And when. So was another memorandum there. The next one down the list was our survey. We're asked to complete a survey every Monday of our PPE usage, what we've used, what we expect coming in on deliveries, what's old, what's new. I've done it a couple of times, but our last OFM advisor said that, you know, because of what I've given him our stuff, I said we don't do first response for medical. If we do any kind of medical assistance with paramedics, then they supply us with PPE. So I've backed off from doing that, and he asked me every couple of weeks where we're at, kind of thing, and it never changes for us. So we're not, like I said, not like a big city where we're running on medical calls all the time. So we really haven't been affected by the PPE shortage as a lot of other departments may have been. So we have also talked about the first responders lookup portal, and I briefly talked about it at one of our EOC meetings. This is a portal that we can use, and it's supposed to be used after the fact by a fire department, by an authorized person. If you go to a call and a week later or a couple days later, one of your fire staff comes down with the flu or gets sick, is not feeling well, you can go into the portal and plug in that address and see if that household was flagged, whether through a doctor visit, whether through telehealth, whether through the self-assessment tool online, to see if there's a flag on that address for COVID-19. It's highly sensitive information, and we were given strict instructions not to access it unless there's a genuine concern around an incident. So we still have access, so nobody has abused it by the looks of it. So, but again, a very important tool for us to be able to keep not only keep our people safe, but it's an after the fact thing, so that if we know that there's a hot spot or a hot house, then we can get our member out of circulation and be able to report to authorities. So anyway, I think it was an important thing for the government to do that. What else do we have here? Running through these communiques here. There's been some communiques with exemptions for building code, fire code. They've backed off some of the reporting, some of the complaints. If you make a call, write up an inspection order, there is a complaint process that the person can go through. They've extended all the times on that just because the offices are short staffed and that kind of stuff. So they are, I think what they're doing is, as they see a problem, they're making a move and trying to fix it. They're just doing it day by day. I think they're not. This is such a big. The scope is so big when it comes to the provincial government that they don't know how to take care of everything at all the time. So they're just picking off problems as they come up and dealing with them. So we get bits and pieces of different parts of the fire code and building code that, excuse me, that they've actually modified some things to get us through this time. So, and a big one right now is municipalities are actually building quote unquote hospitals, facilities for people that are sick to be in. So they've done a lot of exemptions when it comes to I guess a mobile hospital type thing. The fire code and the building code have been put on the back burner while these things have been built. They've been inspected, but it's a modified inspection just to have a shelter for people that are sick and that maybe are living in a group home or living on the street or whatnot. That's the reasoning around that. If anybody wants any of the stuff, I have all of the documents. If anybody wants me to send them all of the attachments from all the stuff that we're talking about, I can do that. And you're more than welcome to go through all the stuff. There is some interesting information. What else do we have here? Okay, so yeah, and I think that's pretty much it. Staffing resources was my last one. Every Tuesday we're asked by lunchtime to let the province know if we're down people because they're sick, or they're away for any other type of emergency. So a big issue at the beginning of all this was mutual aid. So if we had one or two people that came down, or even maybe one person that came down, it was in proximity to other fire staff, that we would have to shut down a fire hall. So the mutual aid system in the province was really looked at closely to make sure that it was up to snuff. Because if we had to say our station 1 in Eganville went down, we would have to have another station or maybe another municipality cover for us until we were deemed clear. So, you know, there's lots to think about when it comes to that stuff. But that's pretty much all I have. The longest winded council report I think I've ever done. But does anybody have any questions?
I thought you were going to lull everyone to sleep.
Pretty much, and including myself.
Yes, Merv, go ahead.
Dave, I hope this is an isolated case, but I've got a daughter living in Coburg, on the outskirts of Coburg. They got a little bit of land, a couple of acres, and we were talking to her last week. They're having a bonfire in the backyard, and I said, "You can't do that. There's a fire ban on." "No fire ban on here." I said, "Well, it's probably no fire ban." I hope it's isolated. That isn't the whole urban attitude, because as far as I'm concerned, 24th of May weekend, it was a nice weekend, whether the province opens it or not. People are coming to the cottage.
Yeah, so I don't think Coburg is in the restricted zone. I don't think
Maybe.
I don't think they are. So there's zones 1 through 36, and they go from Western Ontario to literally Arnprior, and then they go south, not very far. So extreme Eastern Ontario and Southern Ontario along the 401 corridor and the lakeshore is not part of the fire zone area. So municipalities have chosen, because of this, to keep their fire departments not responding to nuisance calls. They actually have instituted bans, but the province, the MNRF, only controls a certain amount of the land in Ontario when it comes to the fire restricted area. So Coburg may not be part of I don't think they are. I think they're too far south.
Yeah, but the scary part is, if they're not, people living in there may not know about the fire ban up here if they're coming up here.
Yeah.
No.
Well, there's been lots of messaging.
I know.
I'm hoping that they get it by now. It's been months. So.
Yeah. Me too.
We still need those bag signs.
I do have them on the way. Yeah.
I've seen though leaving the municipality and coming back in. A lot of our surrounding areas too have the bag signs. Fire ban is on. If anybody says they didn't see it, they must be sleeping when they're driving, because every local municipality has some sort of signage up right now saying the fire ban is on. So I don't think we'll swallow that as an excuse if anybody comes up and says they didn't know, because there's signage everywhere around. You know, our local municipalities are doing a good job of doing it, as well as us too. So I could say I don't think we should take that as an excuse.
Does anybody have anything else for the chief? All right. Thanks, Dave. Get back. All right, so that concludes our open meeting. Our next meeting date is what, Annette? It would be I'm sorry, it would be May
19th?
Yeah, I think
19th.
Sorry, I was just trying to do the math off CP24. And if you want to hear something funny, the Ontario Fire Marshal just is asking people not to microwave their PPE to make it safe. Yes. Yes, Jack.
I guess the other thing though, we still have our budget meeting is still the 15th, right?
Yes.
So
Yes. So what's that, Jack?
Go ahead.
So what I'll do is I will go into the office. Annette and I will physically distance, and I'll have the whiteboard up so that everybody can follow along. But Annette will have our packages for, did you say the 11th, Annette?
Yeah, we'll have the binders ready for the 11th for everybody to pick up. So
Okay.
I'll leave them at the different spaces in the council chambers, and you've got keys to the back. So just come in when you have a second. We'll have them ready, and I'll send out the agenda with, the schedule, stick with the same schedule we did before of who's coming in first, who's coming in last.
Perfect. Yes, Jack.
So are you going to use your laptop, or are you going to try and interface to the L? If you're going to try and interface through the L, you're going to have to do a test run on that, right?
I thought I just used my laptop.
Okay, as long as you.
But I'll go in early and make sure it works.
Okay.
Like as it's right now, Annette, if you moved your laptop, could we see the whiteboard?
Yeah, absolutely. I could move it. See, there's the whiteboard there.
So we just
Yeah.
need to
move
make
it.
sure that there's no sheen on the, shut those.
Yep. Yes. Yep.
But I think that'll work.
Are we is this going to be live then too, the budget meeting, or? What are we doing with that?
That's up to you guys. If you want it to be live, it can be, or if you want me to just record it, so it's available for people if they want to see it. We can do it that way too.
It doesn't matter to me one way or the other, guys. Like, I mean,
Well-
it's a draft budget, but
Normally,
Does it-
we're open to the public to come in and watch the budget, so I would think it'd probably be appropriate to have it online so people could watch it. That's my comment anyway.
yeah.
'Cause it will be available afterwards when we do the actual presentation at council as well, but that's once all the decisions are made. But yeah, that's no problem. I can put it live to YouTube.
Any other thoughts on that? Yeah, I mean, ostensibly, we are open to the public for our budget meetings. We never get anybody, but maybe somebody might like to watch from their home.
Mhm.
But I know that the whiteboard works, and I think that, if everybody's prepared like we were last year, I think we can make this work.
Okay.
Okay. So obviously we don't have a media session. I'm assuming if the media wants something, they will contact me or Annette. I did after our last meeting, Rick Stowe from my FM contacted me right away. So that was good. He was watching. I need a mover and a seconder to go into closed session in accordance with the Municipal Act for an identifiable individual. Moved by Tim, seconded by Merv, all in favor. All right, so Annette, how do you want to do this?
So if we can go off and then come back in, because anyone can sort of access this meeting.
Right,
But when we go out and go back in, there's a password that I sent to those available. So then no one else will be able to get into it.
I just didn't know. Okay, I didn't know how it
If
worked, but okay.
it'll ask for the
Sure.
password.
It will ask for the password and I've sent it in the email.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay,
Okay, good.
yep. See you in a minute, guys.
See you in a minute.